Welcome to Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear banter and debate weekly from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing and Camper Kings Northwest. Welcome back to this second episode of the week of Across the Park podcast. This is called Game On. It's our third episode of Game On. For anybody who's new to the show, we do a weekly show, 2 Blues and 2 Reds talking about the football, and then again in the week we have a little bit of a quiz, Reds versus Blues, and we look back at this week in history. Myself, Ian Mills, and Gary Judge are rocking, as always, our Their Clothing. Judgy, I got it wrong last week. Our sponsor are
theirclothing.co.uk.
Co.uk. There we go. I nearly lost our sponsor, the amazing Their Clothing. Do some amazing clothes. Get over there and put the code ATP20 in there for 20% discount. Phil Roberts and Terry McGiven are our Reds. Another sponsor is Camper Kings Northwest. Get over to Camper Kings Northwest, camperkings.co.uk, sorry, an amazing fleet of camper vans. And if you quote Across the Park, they will give you a free bottle of champagne and some free insurance for the length of the hire as well. Fantastic.
Mills, if you just say, they have got a really good offer on at the moment as well.
Yeah.
On a, I think it's a VW camper van as well. But get over there, really good offer. So check it out.
Unbelievable. They're on social media. If you just search Camper Kings NW for Camper Kings Northwest on a social media, you'll see all their fleet. Fantastic sponsors. But the sort of agenda of the show is, before we get into this week in history, Phil is going to turn in to Roy Walker. It's going to be Reds versus Blues. Phil, do you want to give our new listeners and new viewers a little bit of a clue of what the game is?
Yeah, we're going to go with higher or lower. You'll be familiar with that by now. I've got some questions. It could be appearances, could be number of goals scored, could be anything. I'll give you a number, and the players have got to guess whether the actual number is higher or lower. Then we've got Who Am I, which is 5 questions, 5 clues on a player, and you've got to guess who it is before we get to the end.
Massive bottle of Heineken, that, Mills.
Mate, I hope my wife isn't watching this. She is on the verge of bursting. I've told her I've got a Lucasade, so it's a good job she's not a subscriber. And on that note, if you see the little thing above my head just there, subscribe, please. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. We are a podcast turning into a YouTube channel, but trying to get some more content to you. So that subscribe button. I'm so lucky my wife isn't subscribed. For anybody else, please hit that button.
So we're going to start with the game, are we?
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll start with higher or lower then. So I've got a blue question first. So Dave Watson is in Everton's top 5 for all-time appearances with 534 appearances. But is that higher or lower than the number of appearances made by Kevin Ratcliffe?
Terry first. Terry goes first. The Reds go first. Yeah. Just about to give you the answer then, Terry.
I think I'm going to say higher. I think it's higher.
So you think Watson's higher or Ratcliffe?
Watson.
Okay, so now he's committed. We can sort of work out, can't we? So Ratcliffe was 81.
82, wasn't it?
80. Okay, so 82 because he missed the Magnificent Seven. So 82 maybe. Oh no, he came to the youth team, so he was around about.
No, he wasn't. I don't think he made appearances in 81. If he did, it was a few.
No, well, yeah, I think we had him on the show, and he said he played left back a few times, didn't he? Before that, 83, 84, 85. He left in 91. Watson came in 87, or 86, and left in 99, 2000-ish.
99.
On that basis, I go Watson, but
I go Watson on the basis that he was injured a lot less than Ratcliffe as well. Although Ratcliffe's period may have been slightly longer. I think Ratcliffe was in the late 400s, to be honest, really late, like 496 or something like that.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Great knowledge across the board there, Blues. 534 appearances for Watson, 494 appearances for Ratcliffe.
No problem.
Okay, so Liverpool won. Last season, Liverpool made a number of errors leading directly to a goal being scored against them. A According to Premier League statistics, did that happen more or less than 8 times?
That's a bit of a shaky season all round. Alisson was probably 3 on his own. That wasn't 8, by the way.
Against West Ham.
It's a good job Gary's not on this. You know, if Gary was on this, he'd be like, no, actually, the best in the world, not the best in the world.
Even the best in the world make mistakes, Mills.
Well, I should know, Terry, you're right, yeah.
It's obviously going to be like 9 or 7, isn't it? So I couldn't even I would say,
It's a guess.
because Phil's asking the question, that it's going to be less than 8. I'm going for 7.
Yeah, I'm with him.
Terry?
Yeah, it's going to be very close. I mean, I vaguely feel like I've seen this statistic, and I was surprised because it's how they count errors leading directly to goals. So I think there's one in the I think there's only one in the Leicester game, even though that Leicester game where Alisson had a stinker, even though he had a nightmare in it. So I think it is less. I think it might be 6 or 7.
Actually, 11.
What?
11.
Ooh.
You know when they were? Which ones?
No, I haven't got the 11 mistakes.
Look at Terry. Look at Terry wanting concrete proof.
It's on the Premier League website though, so you can check that out. All right, then back to the Blues. So last season, Everton made a number of errors leading directly to a goal being scored against them. According to Premier League statistics, did that happen more or less than 8 times?
This is Terry as a first, though.
Yeah, it's on Terry first, yeah.
I mean, on the basis of user absolutely well worse than us, I'd expect to say more, but I feel like it might be like a trick question. I don't know. Michael Keane's got a cop for about 4 or 5. Pickford's got a cop for about 4 or 5. There's a few other clowns in the team, so yeah, I'll say more. Just because it lets me have a go at you as well.
Pickford had quite a good season last season.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, I don't.
Michael Keane was half decent because there was no crowd there.
The setup was the low block. It didn't really allow. I know Man City away on the final game of the season, there was a number of mistakes which may have pushed it up. But apart from that,
I think lower.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I was surprised to learn that the number of errors made by Everton leading to goals was only 6.
Oh well.
The Blues go into the lead 2-1.
Made more than that already.
Okay, last question before we go to a tiebreaker. Ray Clemence is in Liverpool's top 5 for all-time appearances with 665. But is that higher or lower than the number of appearances made by Steven Gerrard?
Very close. I feel like I think it's higher. I think Steven Gerrard's about 640 something. Only because I feel like I looked at it recently for something one of these quizzes myself. Yeah, I think Clemence is higher. So saying Steven Gerrard's lower. Any advance on that, Mills?
No, I'm googling our This Week in History, so it's all on you. It's all on you.
No, I think I agree with Judge. I think Gerrard sort of he's up there, but there's a few others that obviously are above him, and I'm pretty sure Clemence might be the 3rd highest or 4th highest in the all-time list. So yeah, I think Clemence is marginally higher.
Well, there's only 2 questions each here, Terry, so you're condemning yourself to defeat.
So he's basically telling you to go the other way, Terry.
On that note, given that you've opened the door for me to go the other way, I better go the other way.
Terry, good knowledge, lad. Steve Gerrard's had 710 appearances for Liverpool compared to the 665. So we'll go to a tiebreaker.
What's Carragher on then? Was Carragher 2nd highest, is he?
Yeah.
He's up there, isn't he?
Yeah.
He must be getting
number 2.
I reckon it must be. You know what? I've seen that number somewhere. They must have had 640 league appearances or something.
Maybe. Maybe.
But, yeah.
I think Gerrard's our highest European, though, out of everyone ever. Okay, the tiebreaker. So just closest to the number this time. So Don Hutchison played a career total of 430 club games. But how many goals did he score? Closest wins. 430 games.
Who are we going to first?
So no, maybe.
Yeah, have you got all his appeared and stats in front of you there, Phil, or just the overall?
No, just games and goals. Sorry.
Right,
It's hard this though, because whoever does the workings out, the other side is just going to benefit and go one above or one below.
Let's not do our workings out.
Then you just got who's going with it from your side? Who's going to say the answer?
I'll give this to Millsy, even though I've got a pretty good idea.
Okay, Phil, give me the stats one more time. Sorry,
430 games. How many goals?
Right.
Whoever shoot
50.
Said he's going 51 here.
No.
Little rat.
No, I'm gonna say 42.
And we'll give you the answer straight after the break. No, the Blues have taken it. I tried to help Terry with there, but the Blues have taken it. 55 goals in 430 games for Hutchison.
Not
bad for a defensive mid.
What's defensive mid? Hutchison?
No, not for us. He wasn't though.
No, he played.
He ended up.
He's a creative midfielder, Hutchison.
He never seemed prolific though, did he? But it's not a bad.
He played behind the striker for us.
Yeah,
he did behind Campbell and Jeffers, and there was times we threw him up front, didn't we, Judgy? At times.
Yeah. Actually, I seen something on. I think it was on Richard Goff's Instagram or something the other day where Richard Goff had said that Walter Smith had said that Don Hutchison is one of the few players that he's managed that would have got into his best Rangers team as he ever played for Rangers.
Wow.
Obviously, Walter Smith rated him, but he has a really good patch for us, didn't he, Hutchison, before he fell out with Kendall, wasn't it?
It was good podcast he done with us, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was what Walter Smith it was. With Kendall. He had so much on our podcast, Across the Park podcast.co.uk. If you go to ATP Extra, there's a red and a blue podcast, which is quite rare for us. Don Hutchison talks about his time at Liverpool and Everton. And I think even Terry, when he was talking about Howard Kendall, it was mind-blowing the amount of love he had for Howard Kendall. But anyone who wants to go back and listen to that, it's over on the podcast website, Across the Park podcast.co.uk. 1-0 to the Blues. The Reds have still got a chance to equalise.
I've got to plug something else as well. The reason my Kevin Ratcliffe knowledge was so good is Kevin Ratcliffe's one's on there as well.
It is, yeah. So myself and you done that one, didn't we? We kept that. And do you know what? These extras we don't plug enough. What's it like to sit down with the most successful captain in Everton's history? Yeah,
it was incredible. It was during lockdown as well, and it was obviously quite a depressing time in general, wasn't it? But that definitely made me year almost.
No, yeah, definitely. So anyone who's interested in podcast audio only at the moment, over on the website acrosstheparkpodcast.co.uk.
A few video ones we might be able to release though, Millsy.
We have the ones we recorded via Zoom. Some of our guests have got gowns on, they've got messy hair, they weren't aware that it was going to be YouTube. So if they allow us to, then we'll put them on the channel. And if anybody wants them on the channel, please let us know over on the social media at Across the Park PC on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook is Across the Park Podcast, and the Tinternet is Across the Park Podcast.co.uk. Like I said, they're 1-0 to the Blues. The Reds can still equalise on this show, so we're not playing Z cars just yet. But one time, Judgy, on This Week in History, where it was so great to hear Z cars, was when Big Joe Royle in 1994, myself and you, we are pushing the button here on the Wayback Machine, age 9 in 1994. You were 8?
Yeah, I was still 8.
Oh, God, it's making me feel even worse. Anyway, we pushed the button, and Mike Walker, in This Week in History, in November 1994, had acquired 8 points. Everton were rock bottom.
Good times.
Peter Johnson, the chairman at the time, he decided it was time to change. We just stayed up in May, skin of our teeth against Wimbledon. We were about to go down that season without a change. An Everton legend, Joe Royle, walks in. I think as a young kid, me remembering it was, I had no idea at age 9 if Joe Royle was going to be good or not. But I do remember there was a big buzz around the place. What can you recall about that time as a young Evertonian, Judgy, when Joe Royle came in as Everton manager?
Yeah, I do remember my dad cutting a pretty frustrated figure for the first few months of that season. I tell a lie, I was actually 9 because it was November, obviously, so that was after my August birthday. But yeah, what I do remember is it was Monday Night Football, and at the time,
The Liverpool game, yeah.
Me Auntie Mary next door had cable and we didn't. So it was on Sky Sports on Monday Night Football. We didn't have a season ticket at the time. Well, I didn't. I think my dad did, but he'd give his ticket away because he was working until quite late. He kind of dashed in. I already had it on, sitting on the floor in my Auntie Mary's. My Auntie Mary was a red, and me and my dad obviously blue, so we had it on. Monday Night Footy, sitting in front, and it was like Auntie Mary was rubbing her hands because, you know, she's a bit of a footy fan, like, and she fancied Liverpool that night because we'd been dreadful the first few months of the season. But, you know, Big Joe and Duncan has other ideas, didn't he?
Do you know what? When Royle came in, this is going to go like a bit in depth. We don't really want to go, but I remember I've got a good memory of these things, as you know. We had the mini derby at Anfield when Royle came in, and I went to it sitting in the old main stand in Liverpool with my dad, and Joe Royle sort of was in the main stand and he waves the Evertonians, lots of Evertonians there, and Everton won 4-0. And Andy Hinchcliffe and Joe Parkinson in the reserve team were brilliant, and he put them straight in for the real derby a week later, and they never left the team, and they were unbelievable, weren't they, under Joe Royle?
Yeah, I think Joe Parkinson told us that, didn't he? Plugging another one of our extras there. It was one of our first ones, but I remember Joe Parkinson telling us that story and how like he'd been chipping away in the reserves. And at that moment, I mean, Terry and Phil remember this. During that time, the mini derby was massive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like the best chance for like young kids to get into a proper derby, and like it was obviously next to nothing, weren't it? But there was always like, you know, 15, 20,000 there.
Well, I lived on County Roads at the time. My mum and dad lived on County Roads, as you know, and I used to go all the time, like, you know, even the ones at Goodison and stuff like that, because it was literally just cut up the street from ours, and it was there. So we'd just go up, and as you say, it was buttons, you know, to get in and stuff, and you just go and have a laugh and watch the
team sheets on paper,
the old team sheet, yeah.
Millsy, you've got to look at Hinchcliffe. Do you reckon?
Have I, yeah? Thanks for that, Phil. Get me fucking trending here tonight. Hinchcliffe Mills.
Yeah, I think it's the chin and the nose, isn't it? But, no, that's a good recollection. That, but as I say, it was they were bold moves, weren't they, from him? But it brought a bit of.
Do you remember? Now we haven't discussed this, so I'm just freestyling here. Do you remember how bad it was under Mike Walker?
Not really. I can't say that I mean, to be honest, at that time when I was around 7, 8, 9, I was just a mad footy fan. I can't say I was like obsessive Everton. I had the kits, don't get me wrong, but I was into anything footy. I'll even admit I was that into footy and just playing footy in the street. I had a Man United goalie top.
Wow.
I literally would just. I loved the best player, so Schmeichel was the best keeper. So I was like, I want to put a goalie top on, and I dive around on the concrete, ripping my arms open. Remember the pads we used to have?
What year was this, Judge?
The elbow pads on the goalie tops.
Yeah.
This was like 90, this is like 93.
Oh, thought it'd be 96.
It was a shocking goalie top, like it was terrible, but I think it was on sale in Barney's or something, which was like an old
Barney Shield House, man.
Barney Shield House, yeah.
Phil, you're the only person here who didn't start watching footy until you were nearly 12.
No.
96.
I said I thought it might be 96 because that was the year we played them in the FA Cup final, and you know what the Blues are like, buying Man United tops.
Probably
got you know what? Judge's been quite honest there. I see 93. I was wearing a man in 2009 when they pipped for the league. I was out in mind.
Well, you spend some money on kits, you Mills, all the finals we get to. You have to buy the opponent's kit every time.
That Tottenham kit's still been worn. Fucking Tottenham let me down, didn't they, a couple of years ago?
Mills, coming back to the game, obviously Andy Hinchcliffe played a massive part in setting up the goal at the Gladys Street for Duncan that we all remember and it's constantly played. I think just on good. It was a momentous moment for the club because even in November, I think a lot of the fans were thinking, we're not coming back from this. This team is so poor and morale's so low. But to obviously come in on that night, I remember the weather was terrible. It was dead windy. It was lashing down. But obviously Andy Hinchcliffe has a great left foot on him. He's put a corner in. Ferguson peeled away. He has hold of the keeper or something, didn't he? Peeled away from the keeper. And we all know at any level of footy, trying to backtrack and then jump up and direct a header back towards goal is no mean feat. But he gets up, obviously, amongst loads of players and nails it into the net. And it was, my Auntie Mary's erupted. She was fuming. She's going to kick
that Merseyside derby in 1994 is still to this day, and you can take this how you want to say it. The Reds might look and say, "Good God, there's been nothing since," but that Merseyside derby in 1984, as a young Evertonian in the Gladys Street, watching Everton, who were bottom of the league, beat Liverpool, who were, as always, up there trying to, get to the top of the league, and to just feel like what it meant to fucking blue scousers in the street end that night. I was in love. That was the game where I went to school the next day and I was like, fucking hell, I will support this club till the day I die. That was amazing. And I'm sure the Reds have got their own sort of version of events when they're growing up, and the moment or one of the moments that made them really latch on to the club, because your parents bring it up to be, a blue or a red half the time, but that for me, I remember going home that night and it was just, oh God, I would die for that club that night. It was amazing.
Lit the touch plate.
Yeah, mate. And it gave us a hero, because until then, I mean, we were floating around. We just lost Tony Cottee a few months prior. We didn't really have a number 9. Amakachi hadn't worked. And then that big 22-year-old 6'5" Scotsman bullies their main centre-half. He scores, he sets one up. He's got his arms in the air at the end of the game. And you're just like, man, you are going on that poster is going on my wall tomorrow.
Millsy's proper conning new blues here, isn't he? He's making them think that there's glory in supporting them, and all you get is misery. He's latched on. He's still thinking about a 19.
There's not been a lot since, but
you do the disservice to young kids who watch this and think it's going to be Boss being a blue. Well, how passionate he is.
Mate, we can't all win the Super League. We can't all win the Super League.
Can't all sell out, can we?
Well, the Super Cup, the Super Cup, and Adrian's fucking offers line saving pens. We can't all do that. Some of us aren't born to do that. They're not that lucky.
You're just a born salesman, Mills. You're proper fraud.
On that note, subscribe to our podcast channel, Across the Park Podcast on YouTube. The button is just about there. Okay, so that's the Blue Week in History. Reds, do you want to tag in and give us the Red Week in History?
Yeah, so I mean, it on a similar vein. Obviously, for the Blues, it was a new manager coming in, and for the Reds, it was a club legend, one of the boot room boys on his way out. It was this week in history. I think it was 1998 when Roy Evans took charge of his last ever game as Liverpool manager, and basically left the club after being what you could say was part of the furniture from right back when Shankly was around at the club. So it's a bit of a step back in time for us as well. What were your memories of the Evans era, Phil, and also the sort of slightly sad way that it ended, really, with him leaving the club?
First of all, the Evans era was. See, the thing is, our generation, Terry, we don't remember the glory years of the 80s, really. I can't really remember a time before Evans as a Liverpool supporter, so it's not like I remember us suddenly coming to an abrupt end of winning trophies. So for me, it's that his era is not tarnished by that feeling like it might be for our parents and stuff. I just remember attacking, attractive football. I remember being on the cop and singing "Attack, Attack, Attack," and it was that sort of a team. Wingers, we played with wingers with McManaman and wing backs, McAteer and all that, getting forward, and some serious quality throughout the spine of the team. Obviously, the culture of that side still stuck in the past a little bit. With regards to drinking and partying and all that, which is the way it always was coming through, and we were successful with it. But I think because Evans was so old school and so much part of that original culture under Shankly, Paisley, Fagan, and all that. And he's probably thinking, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But he caught the change of a new era, which was epitomised by Gerard Houllier. And I think he had half the squad, the older half of the squad with Roy Evans men. There was new signings made by Houllier. They were Houlier's men. And it was a weird setup. And it was always going to end in tears, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do remember like the sort of, I guess, the turn of the 90s a little bit. Like I remember me that like the Souness era. It was like it was one of them times, wasn't it? I started to go to a couple of games with my dad at that period. I remember going down, for instance, on the Charity Shield at Wembley against Leeds and stuff. And I don't know, just from picking it up from my dad and stuff, it was like you could tell, that older Liverpool fans were wondering what's happening, with the way it was going. But like them early 90s, mid 90s periods under Evans, there was some scintillating football. Like you think back to some of them games, some of the Premier League greatest games, I suppose, the ones against Newcastle and stuff. And I agree with that. He had, he'd inherited very successful senior players, who Souness had sort of gone to war with, and it didn't quite work out for him. You had like John Barnes was still there around the club and stuff. You had Ian Rush was still there, and then you had, like, as you say, precocious talents coming through, McManaman, Fowler, and stuff like that. So it was an exciting side and a very good side. It was just it ran up against what was a ruthless Man U winning machine at that time, wasn't it? They just sort of got into a groove, won their first trophy, and that was it. They were away, and it was so difficult for us to sort of to overhaul them. So I agree. I think the Evans era was, it was one of exciting football, but it was a bit like, you think like the Rodgers era, wasn't it? Brilliant going forward, but just sort of not good enough, in all the departments.
A bit like Colin Harvey for us, weren't it, Mills? Where it was a difficult task, wasn't it? Where you're trying to dissemble some absolute, a top side, and trying to move out some proper legends, and you're kind of coming up against their personalities, aren't you? And what they believe is best for the club, and it's a bit of a thankless task, isn't it? But I suppose the good thing, taking it from yous, and we have similar feeling obviously towards Colin Harvey. It's boss that they didn't destroy the legacy, and that everyone still speaks to them so fondly.
Yeah, but that's it, But what I guess maybe does leave a little bit of a sour taste is because I guess Evans was so sort of well respected, they almost couldn't bring themselves to part company, and instead, they took Gerard Houllier as a joint manager, which was a bit. It was never, as I said, it was never going to work. You've got the new age sort of Houllier, and then you've got the old way of doing things, Evans, and it was a little bit sort of sad, I suppose, the way it lasted around 6 months, I think, and then it was a bit of an ignoble end. The actual game itself, that his last game in charge was, I think it was a League Cup game against Spurs, and we got beat. It was 3-1. So it was just one of them where it ended with a whimper for him a little bit, and it was a strange period, wasn't it?
Teddy, can you boys, or Phil as well, can you remember, you're only young at the time, can you remember what the fan base was like at the time Evans went? Was it like an acceptance, or was it sadness? What was it like?
No, I remember
there being... Sorry, Teddy, I was going to say, I remember there being like excitement around Houllier. He was saying he's done this stuff at the French national team, and director of the youth set up, and he was doing big things, because don't forget, France won the World Cup in '98, and he was credited with having a big part of that. So I can only remember excitement. I think Evans had to go because he was still in the old school, and this could be blasphemy for some Reds, but I think it could have been Shankly or anyone. They would have struggled with that transition, because player power was coming in, and the old school mentality of how you manage players just didn't work anymore, and you had to kind of pander to them a bit more. And he's from the old school, and it was never going to work, so he had to go for me.
Yeah, I think it was one of them. I think, we hadn't won pretty much anything. We won a League Cup, and we got to an FA Cup final, and there was a couple of near misses in the league, but it was never looking like we were ever going to win it as such. Really go and put a real sort of conquering side together under him. So I think there was acceptance from what I remember, and as Phil said, I think when Houllier was coming in, I remember we were like, in school, and we were saying like, been involved, as Phil said, in the French national team and stuff. He's got a real reputation and stuff like that. And in fairness, if you look back, it was a little bit of a renaissance for the club. You know, after what we ended up doing under Houllier. I know we never won the league under him, but we won. You know, we got a bit of that pride back in terms of getting to finals and you know, getting back on the map. So it turned out to be the right decision, really, didn't it? But it's just that, as I say, it was this week in history that it was Roy Evans' last game, and it was one of the. It's an interesting chapter in the Liverpool history.
It wasn't just the end of Roy Evans. Players like Steve Harkness, Jason McAteer, the Evans faithful, they all went.
Paul Ince and stuff,
basically all their last games as well on the same day, pretty much.
So, tell you what, boys, our podcast and plug is on fire tonight. Judges plug Colin Harvey, you plug Steve Harkness. Both podcasts are available at acrosstheparkpodcast.co.uk. Moving on, so that is this week in history. Like I always say, if you want to get in touch with us on the website, acrosstheparkpodcast.co.uk, on the Twitter at acrosstheparkpc, Instagram at acrosstheparkpc, Facebook, just search Across the Park Podcast. If you have any favourite games, favourite memories that are coming up and you want us to talk about it, we will certainly add it in to this week in history here on Game On. But just to finish the show, Phil, you have got a chance, my friend, to make it 1-1. Put your Roy Walker hat back on. Let's go. Who am I?
Okay, well, who should we go with first? Should we ask Terry, the Liverpool player, first?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So what's the rules, Phil? What's the rules? Just recap.
So I'm going to put the Liverpool player to Terry and the blue player to use. I'm going to give 5 clues. Don't shout in till the end, Terry. Give the listeners a chance. Yeah. I've got a bonus clue if you can't get it after 5 for both sides. So if Terry can't get it, it moves on to the Blues. So who am I? This player was voted Young Player of the Year, 99-2000. So you can speak about it. This is the Liverpool player.
Yeah,
this is the Liverpool.
No, voted Liverpool Young Player of the Year or PFA Young Player of the Year?
No, I'm not giving you that much info.
Ooh, the Reds are at it already. Dissension in the group.
This is only clue 1, Terry.
Go on.
If I told you that, you'd know instantly. He left Liverpool to go to Galatasaray. Any ideas yet? Judgy's nodding. Judgy might have half a clue.
Possibly.
Okay. This player scored 12 goals in 93 games for Liverpool. Okay, clue number 4. This player got sent off in World Cup 2010 for saving a shot off the line with his hands. Not an incident I remembered personally, but I thought it sounds like quite a big incident. So,
has anyone got this yet, by the way? Has anyone got an idea of...
Terry's struggling.
Judgy, have you got an idea of who this is?
Young Player of the Year, 99.
Yeah, I've got a good idea.
Okay. This is where it starts getting easy. Clue 5. He made his debut for Leeds in 1996.
Young Player of the Year. Sent
99.
off in the World Cup for handball.
Young Player of the Year.
I know. I've got it. I have got it. I know who it is.
What year did he make his debut for Leeds? Did you say?
96.
I have 100% got it.
2010.
Does Terry get the bonus clue?
No,
you can give Terry. You can give Terry his initials. He's not getting it.
Yeah, I'm flagging on that one.
Can the Blues answer it or what?
I think before he goes to the bonus clue, you got it.
We're in 5 clues here. I reckon the Blues have got a shot at this.
I feel like I should know the handball incident, but I'm not even.
I thought that, but I don't remember it.
But there was also another player who handballed off the line in that. Yeah, Suarez. Yeah, that was 2010.
Yeah,
that was a bit of a red herring, that one.
Okay, Blues, go on then. Put him out his misery.
I think I know it, Judgy, but you want to... I think it's Dominic Matteo.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not Dominic Matteo, because Dominic Matteo went to Leeds afterwards.
Okay,
Terry,
I've killed us there.
Bonus clue goes back to McGivern. Rafa famously criticised this player upon his departure, for always having had questionable injuries?
I know it. Can you give me it?
We still got that for you.
Do you know what? I've got nothing.
Can I jump in now?
Mind.
Go on.
Harry Kewell.
Harry Kewell. Top
Thank
player for
God.
Leeds, really.
Thank God for Gary Judge.
I had it early then.
Yeah, I don't remember him getting sent off though in the World Cup.
Yeah, for Australia. I don't remember it, but sounds like a big incident. So, okay.
I don't think handballing on the line either, to be honest.
I think it was
Maybe Australia getting the World Cup.
They were in that World Cup. Because Kale scored a Walesy, didn't he?
Took a lot of criticism for the Champions League final in 2005. Cool.
Yeah.
He had like a really poor first half and then basically faked an injury, didn't he, Teddy?
Yeah.
And in 2007 as well. Played about 15 minutes and went off.
Right, okay.
He's had a questionable managerial career as well. Shocking.
Yeah.
Just
left Barnet or someone, hasn't he?
There's a funny story about how Harry Kewell and with me dad and his wife in the crowd, but I haven't got time to tell her. Remind me, and I'll tell her another time.
Okay.
Okay, a little cliffhanger there. Tune in Monday.
Monday with the Harry Kewell's wife story.
Harry Kewell's lawyers are like that now. Where was he at that time?
She was in Emmerdale, weren't she?
Sheree Murphy, yeah.
Yeah,
she was, yeah.
I think the Blues are going to get this early, but Terry, you better hope they don't. So, clue number 1. Everton signed this now 41-year-old for £3.8 million, according to toffeeweb.com.
He's 41 now.
Yeah.
So, in around 2010 for 3.8 million.
Okay. During his career, he's won 2 Serie A titles and reached the Champions League semi-final.
Trap at Everton.
Wasn't with Everton, unfortunately.
No.
I think I might.
Begin with the M, Millsy. M.
I'm gonna have to.
It was just to give you when I'm thinking, Judgy, I think it was a French midfielder.
Okay.
No, it's not him.
After his 13th yellow card in the same season, this player announced that he was scared to tackle for fear of getting wrongly booked and that it was affecting his form. He ended up on 14 yellow cards for the season.
I knew that.
Record shared with Lee Catamole, Robbie Savage, and Paul Ince.
I think we're in. The Judge's got it.
You heard me?
Was on clue 2.
But I said it begins with an M before, so I had it as well. I had it after the first one. Begins with an M.
Okay. Clue 4.
Both initials, Millsy. Both initials are M.
Yeah, exactly.
Clue 4. I think we'll say.
I'm still clueless here.
Hold on. Sorry, before you carry on, Phil. This is ours, Terry. This is our one to lose first. Go on, Phil.
Okay. Everton sold this player. I'm going to reduce some of this clue because I think he's nearly there. Everton sold this player for a £2 million profit. That's all I'm giving you on that one. So, okay, and the last clue. When he arrived at Everton, he had a fiery relationship with Don Hutchinson, whose position he would go on to take in midfield.
No way.
So, well, I've got a guess. I've got one that I'm going to guess.
Did you say he signed for 3.8 million?
Yes.
And he took Don Hutchinson's place in the team.
And he was fiery. I thought it was a certain Italian centre-back, so I'm not using our guess, but it's not because he couldn't have
just say, you and me both thought it was Marco Materazzi at first, didn't we? I did, yeah.
But
okay, there's only 2 players who took Don Hutchinson's place, and that was when Smith replaced the whole midfield, and he brought in the foreign Carsley and the new Vieira. It can't be them.
Can Terry guess?
If he wants.
Go on, go for it.
Have you given up?
I haven't given up.
No, we're not giving up, but you can have a stab at it.
Is it Olivier Decor?
It is.
What?
I said to Judge.
You did say to me.
It is Olivier Decor, yeah.
We have killed. Yeah, he played for Roma on Leeds as well. Leeds in the semi-final.
Leeds got to the semi-final and he won 2 Serie A. Was one with Inter?
I thought you said he won the Champions League.
Did he sign at the same time as Materazzi as well? It was like
he did, yeah.
Signed at the same time. I remember them both being unveiled.
With John Collins.
I can't remember him getting that many yellow cards. And
14.
It was Materazzi.
That's why before I said Don Hutchinson about being a defensive midfielder, because Decore was defensive mid, and when I was reading about him, it said he had merged with Hutchinson.
They both consider themselves playmakers, I think.
Midfielders,
yeah.
Good player, Decore, weren't he? Very good player.
Yeah.
Good
me and Judgy off it are doing a Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer. We've killed each other on this quiz.
I've got a chance, haven't I?
We still won because we got the Liverpool one, so we tied that, and then we won with the.
Fair.
Okay.
So this week's game on goes to the Blues. I don't know how that was a calamity, but we somehow got through it. I think we're all done, boys. Are we all done on the podcast? Anything else to add, or
no? Just one thing from me. Subscribe.
Subscribe. I mean,
just in case everyone, in case you hadn't noticed, we're trying our best to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We'll be popping the champagne open on New Year's Eve if we can get to 1,000 subscribers. Please subscribe already.
1,000 subscribers opens the door for anyone who's not aware of this. It opens the door to live streaming. There's certain scenarios we can maybe do going forward. We're not guaranteeing that we'll do live podcast or live instant matches, but the option is then there for us. So if you get us to 1,000 before the end of the year, we would really appreciate it. 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year is our goal.
I'll do a live YouTube countdown for that.
Okay, so that is Game On, episode 3 done. We hope you enjoyed it. We are back next week for 2 more shows. We are going to be previewing the games at the weekend and again with Game On. 2 Blues and 2 Reds. This is the only place that you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park. Thank you, everybody on our audio channels and our YouTube channel for tuning in. From myself, Ian Mills, Gary Judge, Phil Roberts, and Terry McGiven. Enjoy the international weekend, and we shall see you again next week.